But Elon Musk is somebody who said, why are people not talking about this crime? And the mayor comes out and says, I'm so glad you guys are not talking about.
Why didn't you guys talk about the crime? If you covered it last week, it would have been a national news story as well. You're only covering it now because someone else made it a viral story. Oh, yeah, there's also the horrific sight of a Ukrainian refugee that was stabbed to death by some psycho.
Authorities in North Carolina have released surveillance video of the unprovoked murder of a woman on a Charlotte commuter train.
There needs to be change.
We are not showing the attack. 23-year-old Irina Zarutska took a seat in front of the man on the right in the red hoodie and began scrolling on her phone. After a few minutes, police say the man identified as 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown took out a pocket knife, stood up, and stabbed Zarutska several times. Passengers rushed to help her, but it was too late.
Very alarming as a woman who rides solo. People have harassed other people. You can tell that they're probably not mentally well.
Brown was arrested after stepping off the train and faces first-degree murder charges. He has more than a dozen convictions dating back to 2014. His own mother says this tragedy could have been prevented. She says after he served 5 years in prison for armed robbery, Brown began to behave strangely. She says she got an involuntary commitment order and he was placed under psychiatric monitoring, diagnosed with schizophrenia. But she says he got so aggressive, she had to kick him out of her house. Earlier this year, he called 911, making what police describe as paranoid claims. A judge ordered a competency evaluation, but he remained a free man. The case highlighting challenges in the judicial system when it comes to mental health. A retired judge saying resources are spread too thin. As for Zarutska, her family says she was a talented young artist who had come to the U.S. to flee the war in her home country of Ukraine. And Charlotte's mayor is pushing for more investment.
Dude, America's so crazy, man. It's just so wild. You escape Ukraine because you're like, I don't want to get lasered by a drone strike. And then you come to the United States of America and you get stabbed in the neck. Like, what a insanely violent country that we live in. Oh, my God. Local news went and found the perpetrator's mom, DeCarlos Brown's mom. She's not making an excuse for her son. She says what he did was atrocious, but it was horrible and it was wrong. The point of her speaking isn't to make her son out to be a victim. He's not. She says she wanted to speak about the arrest to highlight how the system failed and things got to this point. When Brown not yet appearing before a judge and police largely quiet about the details of what happened, Brown's mom provides more context on how things escalated to the point where Irina Zarutska was randomly stabbed to death on the light trail. As I previously reported, Brown served more than 5 years on an armed robbery charge. When he was released from prison, Brown's mom said he started saying weird things. She says she got Brown evaluated, but his behavior became aggressive, so she got an involuntary commitment order from the courts. He was placed under psychiatric monitoring for 2 weeks and diagnosed with schizophrenia. But after he was released, she says Brown became so aggressive she had to kick him out. He became homeless. In January, Brown was arrested for misusing the 911 system. Police say he called from the hospital and claimed someone gave him man-made material that controlled when he ate, walked, and talked. Despite his criminal past and homelessness, Magistrate Teresa Stokes allowed him to be released from jail on a written promise on appeal. In court last month in this charge, the public defender questioned Brown's mental capacity. Judge Roy Wiggins ordered a forensic evaluation. People are going to turn around and be like, this magistrate actually is woke, and they release him in the wild. No, the reason why they release him in the wild is because there's no other place for him to go to. Like, we don't have a normal process here to be like, hey, let's get you some free healthcare. Because at that point, he's just a dude with a criminal record who has served his time and is very clearly schizophrenic. Like, he hasn't done this gruesome stabbing yet. Instead of bringing him to a facility, giving him the proper mental care and the drugs necessary to keep him stable, they're like, fuck it, we'll figure it out later down the line. Brown's mom says the court should have never let her son be out in the community knowing he had mental health issues and previous arrests. CMPD's community policing team was well acquainted with Brown. They encountered him 3 times in 2024 and referred him to resources each time. CMPD has still not answered my questions asking what these resources are, if he accepted any of them, if police have any recourse if they keep encountering someone who refuses to help, and why Brown wasn't arrested if he was accused of criminal activity. Like, what do you do in that situation? You know what I mean? I mean, it's terrifying. It's a terrifying thing that took place. And conservatives, of course, have, moved on. Or they haven't moved on. They immediately started slamming the imagery everywhere, all around the internet, to say this is how they are, and they being black people. This is how Democrats are. Democrats just want this kind of murder to take place nonstop. Some people I saw were talking about how public transit is terrifying for this reason, as though this happens on public transit all the time. And but the one unique aspect of this is that some of these reactionaries have started actually finding details about the slain victim, Irina Zarutska, the Ukrainian refugee. Apparently, she had a Black Lives Matter poster in her bedroom. The fact that like they would take it to this level to be like, see, this is what you get, is so insane. It is a truly insane, repulsive movement. Like, this person was ruthlessly and brutally murdered. And they're like, I guess like there's not a victim that they won't blame. You know what I mean? Because even in this circumstance, like the dynamic is perfect for white supremacists. They're really playing up the fact that this was a very clearly mentally ill black dude who murdered a Ukrainian refugee, a woman, a white woman, right? Like the optics are perfect for fomenting racial animus. Now, as far as public transit goes, obviously, this kind of incident is nowhere near the norm, no matter how hard these dipshits try to present it as the case. Unfortunately, we live in a country where we do not have adequate mental health facilities and treatment for people who are experiencing some significant problems. This kind of random act of horrifying violence is unimaginably rare, but it is the scariest type of violence, right? Because it's like, it makes people feel like this could happen to anyone at any given moment, especially if they're in public with other people. Having said that, very quickly, the story moved into the direction of like the media's utter silence of this issue. The reason why this probably doesn't reach the standard of like a national news story is because this is a local news story for the most part. It will become a national news story now because the Republicans want to make it a national news story and use this horrible crime, this horrifying crime as a way to draw a larger point.
Would one story demand 100 articles and another story 0 articles? And it's because the media is more interested in the all capitals story, the narrative, than the facts or the truth. Take a look at the difference here. I want to
Ooh, interracial violent crime incidents is crazy. We are moving into a new era, chat. Ooh, this is Breitbart. This is Breitbart Black Crime Tab. This is a Breitbart report. Oh, brother. For those of you who don't know, this kind of stuff was usually just like done at Der Stormer, or I guess the most like mainstream version of this was like Breitbart. Breitbart had a black crime tab. So anytime like a black person was either convicted or charged or suspected of doing a crime, Breitbart would release a press release on it instantly. Now you might make up your own mind on what their purpose was for having a black crime tab. Not a crime tab, but a black crime tab. And now you got Fox News doing
show
it.
you the actual truth when it comes to crime. The story is about race. Race. Take a look at the black on white crimes, 385,000 in 2023. The white on black crimes, just under 118,000. You see the comparative numerical difference. But now, here's what the media actually does. They did what our camera operator just began to do a moment ago. I'm going to step out of the way. I'm going to show you literally what the media does with the camera. They zoom in on this number. This number, devoid of context. Now, why would that be?
That is nuts. I mean, they just straightforwardly are saying this is about race. Black people do crimes. Black people do violent crimes. This is stuff that obviously, if you are online and you've seen like 4chan style commentary, like you're privy to this information. This is not new stuff, right? This is not new commentary at all. It's just new for, I think, Fox News to go so hard in the paint on. You feel me?
A Ukrainian refugee's life right before being stabbed to death by a man with a lengthy criminal record on a train in North Carolina. This happened weeks ago.
Todd Pyra, look, she's just on her phone, has no idea what.
This happened weeks ago. Bitch, why didn't you cover it weeks ago then? See, this is what I mean. It happened weeks ago. It was in the local news. And then someone brought it up and was like, the very fact that this didn't become a national news story means that there is something crazy, something sinister going on. No, dumbass. You didn't make it a national news story weeks ago either.
What's about to happen? Todd Pyro is here with the latest. Hey, Todd.
The most horrific video, or at least one of that I think we've seen on this program. Surveillance video obtained by News Nation shows 23-year-old Irina Zarutska. She was boarding the train in Charlotte, North Carolina last month. She took a seat right in front of the alleged suspect. But around 4 minutes later, the suspect pulls out a knife and just begins stabbing the victim 30 times.
Wait, how did he know she was Ukrainian? No, man, he's insane. He's like an insane person. This kind of incident is not being done for any other reason other than the fact that this dude is like very clearly mentally ill. He has no idea what her background is. He just stabbed a random person. This is the worst kind of crime because it's as far as the way people view this kind of whether the perpetrator is black or white, because this happens with white people too. This is not like an action reaction type of situation, even if it's still unjustifiable. Obviously, murder is still unjustifiable. This guy snapped and did the unthinkable, most violent thing he could have done. And the reason why this is like the most, this is the scariest type of random act of violence is because like it causes people to think like any guy around me could also snap in a similar fashion. It makes people, it rips apart the social fabric. This kind of antisocial behavior is something that you're not supposed to think about when you're existing in society among other people. Because like technically any human being at any given point could be insane and snap in this regard. Like the difference between a scorned lover engaging in premeditated murder, or even a hate crime in some respects, like even a whole ass, like fully fleshed out hate crime is still explainable. There is a logical through line, right? This isn't a justification, of course, of either of these things. These are unjustifiable instances of violence, but because there is still like a logical through line into how someone behaved this way, how someone got to this point, the inexplicable acts of random violence are utterly senseless, and therefore it is so much worse for overall collective consciousness. Like you just think anyone could do it. Yeah, exactly. It dispels the illusion of safety that you're supposed to have in the back of your mind at all times when you are existing in society. It's truly poisonous for public discourse.
Including once in her neck. The suspect later wandered through the train before exiting at the next stop. He was arrested shortly after the stabbing, hospitalized thereafter, before being arrested on a charge of first-degree murder. Records obtained by the New York Post shows he has a lengthy history of convictions dating back more than a decade, including felony larceny, robbery with a dangerous weapon, and communicating threats. He served 5 years for a 2014 robbery and was released in 2020, but was arrested just 5 months later for assaulting his sister. Officials also say he was homeless at the time of the killing and believe it was a random attack. Zarutska was pronounced dead at the scene, her family saying she came to the U.S. to escape war-torn Ukraine. They say in a statement, quote, "Tragically, her life was cut short far too soon. This is an irreparable loss for her family." The suspect currently being held without bond. Back over to you.
My gosh. That could happen to anyone. I mean, like Lawrence was saying, that could be anybody sitting in that chair. You don't know what's behind you. And this guy, why is he out on the streets?
That's the question. Before he stood up and with his knife, like he's smirking. Mm-hmm. You see him smirking there, like, I'm about to attack this woman who is about to get stabbed. She's just coming off her job at a pizzeria. And it turns out, one of the things she was doing in Ukraine, compiling stories of women resisting the Russian invasion.
My gosh.
So to be clear, this guy deserves the death penalty for his actions, right? It's premeditated. The way he looked and stands up on him, just brazen in the neck. He's a repeat offender. He had already committed larceny with a deadly weapon. Mm-hmm. And because our criminal justice system keeps wanting to reimagine things, when people are violent offenders and they have weapons, they don't deserve to be back on the street. I don't care if he's homeless or not. If people have mental health issues, get them the services they need. But we shouldn't have to tolerate them in society while you guys try to figure out a new way of doing the criminal justice system. We're seeing this in every major city. And it's not just like, okay, it's a liberal city and they just...
This isn't political. This needs to be in prison, bro. What are they on about? Exactly. They're on about absolutely nothing. Like, they have to argue against a position that doesn't exist. They're saying that this dude should have been in permanent jail. I don't know what his like previous criminal convictions are, but like they're arguing against the position that doesn't exist. No one on the planet would ever be like, oh, he shouldn't go to jail after this or whatever but they have to make it seem like there is a liberal attitude surrounding it. But what's also crazy about it is like he also reveals another aspect of the story where he says, well, you know, obviously you should get the mental health services, but it shouldn't be our problem. It's like, yeah, motherfucker, that's the reason why he is everybody else's problem, because he's not getting those services because those services don't exist. The are you talking about? Yeah, that's what we say, dumbass. But when we say it, it's like, oh, well, you're a pussy. You're a friggin' libtard, dude.
Stay there. They spread out all across the country.
But Elon Musk is somebody who said, why are people not talking about this crime? And the mayor comes out and says, I'm so glad you guys are not talking about.
Why didn't you guys talk about the crime? If you covered it last week, it would have been a national news story as well. You're only covering it now because someone else made it a viral story. This is what I saw. This is what I get so fucking mad about too. It's like, this is not like a political issue. Everybody understands exactly what took place here. A totally mentally ill person just executed someone in the middle of a bus. Like, what do you mean? Like, there's not a single person that would be like, oh, hold on, maybe we shouldn't arrest this person. That person would be also insane, okay? Maybe not as insane as the person who committed this heinous act.
But the crime, we don't want to give this a lot of publicity. No, you need a lot of publicity. This is a victim of a crime, brutally killed after surviving the war in Ukraine, came here for some solace just to get a day job and just build her life at 23 and gets hacked to death. Mm-hmm. I mean, don't tell me that can't happen to you.
Well, he's definitely mentally disturbed. How could you do that to anybody, period? But he's like resting on his hand against the window. Looks like he's maybe about to go to sleep. And then all of a sudden he stands up and then stabs the girl.
Yeah, and then the mayor says, oh, we shouldn't villainize people with mental health issues. Excuse me, everyone that has mental health issues is not going around stabbing people. Then she said, oh, we can't arrest our way out of this. Oh, yes, we can. We can make sure when people are...
How? Walk through the steps. Walk through the steps of how you would avoid a future incident such as this one by just simply arresting everybody. Yeah, let's just arrest everyone that has a mental illness. That'll definitely fix the problem.
Violent offenders that they don't see the daylight anymore.
Now they're going to put security on the trains. Now
you're going to put security on the trains now? You mean, dumbass? There's security at schools. That doesn't stop school shootings. It almost feels like you already accidentally revealed the long-term solution to this, but no one wants to commit money to that project. What's a security guard going to do if a dude just snaps in the middle of the train and just starts stabbing? What's a security guard going to do? I know what NYPD has done in the past, which is nothing. Court mandated nothing. The Supreme Court allowed police to never intervene in affairs if they feel like their lives are in jeopardy.
Cata-cornered to look both ways because we don't know what lunatic is sitting behind us.
How scary is it? I mean, we live in New York City. I used to always take the subway. It's cheaper. It's quicker.
People I've heard are using this to literally shit on public transit. They're like, this is why we can't go and take the subway, public transit. Motherfucker, the alternative is cars. Do you know how much more likely you are to die in a vehicular crash on your regular daily commute than getting stabbed by a random insane person on a subway? What the f are you talking about? That was the most insane thing I saw. People being like, this is why we can't go on the subway. This is why we can't go on buses. It's like, are you stupid? I mean, yes, the answer is yes, okay? The answer is yes, you are stupid. Do you know how many people die in car crashes every goddamn year? It's like 40K. Yeah, this image has done more damage to the anti-car pro-public transit movement than 50% across the board budget cuts ever could. Sorry, transit bros. Unless progressive stances on crime, punishment, and urban dysfunction are rolled back drastically, then the future of mobility will be won by autonomous vehicles, especially once the Luddite obstructionist labor unions are pushed aside, this guy says. What a psychotic take, man. Brother, there is a genocide on vehicles as opposed to random instances of ultra violence that take place. And that is before we even factor in like permanent injury. What the dude, look, yeah. The subway risk chart you've been waiting for. Sawyer County is where Sean Duffy's from, and his numbers are 2018 to 24 annual averages. Let's take a look. Annual deaths per 100K of the population. Victims of U.S. lightning. Okay, 0.004. Homicide, New York City subway, 0.4. Accidental drowning, 1.2. Homicide, 3.2. Traffic accident, 3.8. Homicide in New York City, 4.3. Homicide in Palm Beach County, 4.5. Traffic accident in the U.S. altogether, 12.1. What is going on, man? Americans can't drive? No, dude. Americans have an incredibly car-reliant infrastructure, and therefore Americans drive a lot more than other places. And when you drive more, you get into car accidents more. That's it. These guys that are trying to make like a larger news story out of this, with respect to the racialized aspect of it, are doing so specifically to do whatever kind of propaganda they want to do. Some people hate the public transit, and that's why they're saying that. Many others want to say, well, this is a black on white crime. Black people are just like dangerous and they're violent. Fear mongering about cities. Of course, if you look at actual crime statistics, you would realize that you have an infinitely larger chance of being murdered or assaulted by someone that you know than a random person. This is the reason why whenever people brought up, what about black on black crime? They failed to recognize that white on white crime was being done at a similar rate. That's why the interracial and crime statistics of that sort don't actually show the clear, the broader picture here.
But I don't ever take it anymore. I haven't taken it since all of the crime went up in New York, and I don't feel safe because of things like this.
Well, I'm
in
on the train
1
every
second.
day and the subway maybe twice a week. So you got to always think about that.
Do you ever
I
get
never think about it,
taunted or
especially
anything?
no. I mean,
But can I just say this too? So there's the people that are the victims of this, but then you have a Daniel Penny. When you do decide to defend yourself, you lose all your money, and you may get a liberal jury that wants to be woke.
What the are you talking about? Daniel Perry has a job because he choked and killed a homeless person to death in broad daylight. What are you talking about? Daniel Penny literally got a new job for this reason. He became like a conservative media darling too. He was celebrated every step of the fucking way. They are hallucinating a reality that doesn't exist.
And doesn't want to look at the facts and then give you life in prison for defending yourself. So we're in a no-win situation right now.
But that's why when Michael Whatley runs for Senate against the governor, he's got to bring stuff like this up. The crime in the city is run by a Democratic governor in a mostly Republican state. He's got to contrast that and say, this is what this is what I would do. This is what I would support.
Crime has become the issue for the next election right now.
I agree.
It is. I didn't predict it was going to be that way.
Economy.
But now it's crime.
Once again, a functioning government in a normal, functioning, healthy society would ensure that this person is not just like released into the and wild with a litany of mental health complications. He'd be getting the proper treatment.